Welcome back to the channel. This is Johnny at the Pilot Garage. Today we are going to pull the 289 out of my 1974 Maverick. We're going to replace the engine with a 4-cylinder Nissan engine I have back in the corner. But on today's episode we're going to pull this apart. I'm going to take the hood off and then slowly disassemble the exhaust and the fuel and the radiator and unhook the transmission, the motor mounts, and the wiring. And as I go through all those steps, I will show you what to take off, why we're taking it off, and just the proper way of doing it. Stay tuned. Alright, we're going to work on taking the hood off. These old cars don't have a hood top. This is a latch. Okay. Now, when you're doing this by yourself, you want to take off the bolts opposite of your hood. So I'll take that side off and I'll lay a rag in there and allow it to sit on it. Then I'll come over here and take these ones off, which will allow me to keep a hold of the hood. Scratch that, flip it, reverse it, take that side off first, and this side. I gotta get rags first. This old car, they're 1/2-inch bolts holding the hood in place. And because I've already had this hood off once, there's a paint marker or a permanent marker that I use to mark the edge of the hood, the edge of the hinge. So I know when I put the hood back on where to line it up. And that's why you take that side off first, because the hinge will hold that side in place. Sit down there on the rags. Take this off. What we'll do now, let that sit there. And I have this stuff. Oh, can't see me. This stuff is called pig mat. It's usually what you lay on the floor if you have spills. Like I have one underneath this car now because the transmission leaks. But I take this and we'll throw her across the roof of the car, and then we'll set the hood on the roof of the car. Okay. Now, this. Like that. Alright, so let me get you in here a little closer. Alright, so I love older engines. They're so much easier to work on. So older engines have carburetors. Which basically it's the air fuel mixture comes into this. The fuel will come in, it gets injected into here into a mist, and this sucks air in, so then it sucks, the engine compression will suck the air and the fuel into the cylinders. Once the valves open, that's whenever, the valves will open, it'll suck that into the cylinders. And then whenever the cylinder gets the whole way to the bottom, when the cylinder comes to the top, it compresses the fuel and air. Then a spark plug ignites that, which in turn fires, makes a big fireball inside of the cylinder, which then pushes the cylinder back down, and the whole process starts again. So you have 4 on this side and 4 on that side of this V8. So when the first one is at the top and it compresses all that and it fires it, it pushes that cylinder down, which in turn, I think on this one, the next cylinder back will actually come up. So the crankshaft is shaped like it has lobes on it for every single one of those, and the lobes look like eggs. So it'll look like that. So when this one's at the top, this one's at the bottom. So whenever it spins, it'll do the same thing. That probably doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. Alright, so I already have the battery out, so that's not a problem. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the radiator hoses, which this thing still has radiator in it, or fluid in it. There is a pet caulk on these, which let me get you unhooked here. Alright, so a radiator, you have your upper hose, which goes into this housing on this engine. And then I have a lower hose, which is down, which is right here, that goes into the water pump. So this is the water pump. So whenever the engine runs, this thing will spin. It'll spin, which in turn spins little impellers in here, which will circulate the water up through here and then into the block, and then through the block, and then back into the radiator on this side. But on these older ones, there is a little guy right here. My finger's on them. That is a pet caulk. That's what they're called. So I will grab the catch can, slide my pig mat underneath the car, and we will let that loose. Hold on a second. Alright, so this is a mechanical fuel pump on older engines. So in here there's a finger on the camshaft. On the end of the camshaft, get my hand in here. On the end of the camshaft there's a finger sticking out. And on here, sticking out of here is a finger. It's about this long. So as the lobe turns, let me find you something here. So this way, we'll pretend this is the cam and this is that lobe. That has a finger sticking into the side of the block. And as the cam comes around, it'll hit this, which in turn will pump this down, it'll spring back up. And it'll pump it down, and it'll spring it back up. And what that does, when it does that, it pumps inside of here. So it causes a pumping action, kind of like, I'm trying to even think, kind of like a turkey baster. When you squeeze a turkey baster and let go, and squeeze it, let go, it sucks up into the thing. So this is the fuel line from the tank. There's no fuel pumps in the tank. So this is just fuel tank with a hole in it with a hose run from there to here. That's it. There's no fuel pump. And then what this does is it pumps it, so it sucks it through here and pushes it out through this hard line up into the carburetor. So what I need to do is to get this unhooked from here, like this. Take this off. Now this is going to suck because it's going to have fuel everywhere. But I'm going to take the pliers. I'm going to pinch this off. Just like so. Take the screwdriver in here. Maybe. Alright. So, just like we've done before. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I think Todd's here. Come in!
Is it out?
It's almost.
Here's your fender roller. I didn't bring your heaters.
Why not?
Huh?
Why not?
It's getting cold. I'm recording.
Huh?
Recording.
It's recording. It's all good. Just putting the fuel line together here.
Unwrecked here.
Give me a second here, we'll zoom it back.
I ceramic coated the whole plastic. I ceramic coated it.
We have a visitor. Wonderful Todd from Unwracked over there.
Yeah, I was wondering if Johnny could work on my cars for me so I don't have to.
No, I'm good. Alright. Alright, so let me see if I can get you in here. It's kind of hard for me to see. There are, you see the two somewhere, right? Here's one, then there's one. So there's, I think 6 or 8 bell housing bolts. We got to get these two out from up here, and the rest will be done from underneath. So I'll show you a trick. So you take, zoom in here. There you go. You can see the one bolt on the other side. So you take a 5/8 wrench that fits onto the bolt, just like so. If you take the next size up, if you take these, they interlock like this. But I need to go this way. So what you do is you take this, you put it on here. What that does is it gives you a longer extension to loosen it, and if you do, see that tightens it. I need to loosen it, so we'll go the other way. There you go, that's simple. And you just and that bolt's actually that's simple. You gotta do all 8 of them. I'll turn the video back on when I get them all out, and then we can go from there. Alright, so on the crank here, I have a 15/16 socket on the crank, which will allow me to back up here a bit. You see me turn the engine. What that does is, you look up under here, right there. See that nut? There are 4 of those on that flywheel. So I have to get all 4 of those off, and I have to crank the engine by hand to get those off. And when you do this, make sure the transmission's in neutral, and of course you have blocks behind the wheel so that the car doesn't take off on you. But all right, I'm gonna get the rest of these off, and we'll just keep moving. All right, so got the starter unbolted, the flywheel's unbolted, the bell housing's unbolted. I have a jack under the transmission, and then I have a chain that bolted to the front of the head here and the head back there. So now what we'll do is we'll hook the engine crane up to it and pick it up. All there is to it. Go back a little bit so you can see what we're doing. Inside of this you have this bolt adjusts this length of my engine crane. Okay. Go slow, just in case there's something bound up. Okay. Jack the transmission up some more. Pick the engine up some more. is once the motor mount clears the like that. Oh, there goes the rest of the antifreeze. Leaking. We are clear in the back. Oh. Done? Are you done making a mess all over my floor? What are you gonna do? Alright, let's go up. Everything's clear on this side. Everything's clear on this side. Keep going up. Just always do, as soon as you clear the car, lower this thing back down so nobody gets hurt if it falls. All right. Big engine's out. Now, that made a mess all over my floor. Alright, so. Oop. As you can see, this is a small block V8. It's a Ford 289, which is the equivalent of a 302 in the later years. It made a lot of room in here now. As you can see, the transmission's still in. So my next goal is to get that out. And then once we get it out, we'll clean the engine bay all up and then start working on fitting the SR. Stay tuned. Alright, so it's been a fun-filled day. Got the transmission out, finally. It took a while. it got hung up. It decided to pew its guts all over my floor and bleed everywhere. Got a mess. Got the engine out. Okay, so I'm going to clean up my mess, and then the next video we will be test fitting the SR to see what we got to modify and make some mounts and get ready to roll. See you next time.